I'm Huon Hooke, and this is The Real Review. So the wine we're tasting today is Langmeil, the Freedom 1843 Shiraz, vintage, not 1843, 2017, and it's from the Barossa Valley. So the backstory to Langmeil, the Freedom, is a fascinating story. Langmeil itself is a winery which takes its name from one of the original settlements in the Barossa Valley. It was a little settlement, not even a village, down by the Para River, and it was a good crossing place where the bullock teams could go across the river without any damage to them, and then they would head up north to the mines, to the mining country to feed the miners. So of course little settlements sprang up there, and those buildings are still visible in the Langmeil complex where the winery is. These days it's run by the Lindner family, who are a couple of brothers who do a great job. And right next to their winery is this really old patch of vines called the Freedom Vineyard. Those vines were first planted in 1843, so this year they would be 177 years old. That is very, very old for a grapevine. They are believed to have been planted in 1843 by a man called Christian Oricht, again another Germanic person who fled Russia to escape the war and to escape religious persecution, as a lot of these early settlers of the Barossa did. And he found a new life in the Barossa, so that was his freedom. He loved it, that was where he lived, and the Freedom is a good name for the wine, I think, for that reason. Of course, the Barossa Valley has this amazing treasure trove of little bits and tiny little bits and pieces of very, very ancient vineyards, some of the oldest vineyards in the world. It's a treasure, and these are own-rooted vines that have never been pushed, have never been watered or fertilised, and that's why they're still, part of the reason why they're still alive is that they've been allowed to just grow at their own pace without being hurried along by fancy modern viticulture. So, and they still produce grapes of great intensity, great concentration. Old vineyards are not necessarily great per se. They have to produce great grapes in order to be great. People often ask, why is it that wines made from old vines are considered special? It's not that old vines necessarily make great wine. It's the other way around. Great wines make for old vineyards. And the reason for that is, if the grapes are of great quality, the vineyard will survive. People won't come along and pull it out and say, these vines don't produce very good wine. We'll pull it out and we'll have chickens there or sheep there or something. So that's why I say great wines lead to old vineyards, not the other way around. This is an ancient vineyard, and obviously people have always valued the quality of fruit from that vineyard, and that's why it's existed for that long. If you look at the label, it says ancestor vine, and in the Barossa they have a charter, an old vine charter, where they classify vines according to different levels of age. If it's over 125 years old, it qualifies to be an ancestor vine, and that's why they've got that little gold tag there. Very special. Let's have a look at it. The colour is nice and deep. This is a really serious red wine colour. It's not black, it's still bright and vivid and red purple. Good colour. And when I smell that, wow, that's graphite. I mean, people have told me that graphite doesn't have a smell, but it's the smell of a freshly sharpened pencil. It's the cedar of the wood and the graphite of the lead. Something there that is often found in red wine, especially Shiraz and especially from the Barossa. Another thing that it reminds me of is ironstone. So if you're out in the paddock and you pick up a piece of ironstone which has got soil on it and you sniff it, it's got a particular smell. Stones do have different aromas. This is a very Barossa smelling wine because of that. It's got spice, it's got pepper, it's got earthiness, it's got all sorts of interesting aromas which are more than just simple fruit aromas. The fruit is definitely there, but it's got all these other interesting things happening as well. Let's have a taste. Wow, you know you've tasted a wine when you've had that. It is a big wine. Very full-bodied, 15% alcohol. It's not that low, but it's not out of balance either. It's certainly in balance. Really concentrated, very full-bodied, very powerful. Gosh, that's a high-impact wine. It really gives you a big, solid mouthful of flavour that lingers for a long time after the wine's gone. It has been given a lot of oak. I think it's aged for 2 years in mostly new barrels, French barrels. It is gorgeous wine. It's got a lot of savouriness to it. I suspect that with a bit more age, the fruit characters will come out more and more, and you'll get the mellow aged berry characters coming through. Beautiful, beautiful wine of a particularly powerful, bold Barossa style. Really, really smart wine. A great wine, a handmade wine, no fining or filtration, 2 years in barrels. A terrific wine and a piece of history at the same time. Well, we scored it 95 out of 100. Number 27 out of 163 Shirazes from that vintage that we tasted from the Barossa Valley. We've said drink it from now until 2035. I suspect it'll last a lot longer than that. If I had that in my cellar, I would be keeping it for another couple of years at least before I drink it, because that's still forming itself, that wine. It still needs more time to really come out of its shell and to mellow. A bit more softness wouldn't hurt. There's nothing astringent about it, but it will get softer and softer as it ages. It's a really gorgeous wine. So what would you serve with a wine like this? We did ask the winemaker, whose name is Paul Lintner, what he would serve with it, and he suggested slow braised beef cheeks in Barossa Shiraz. Brackets, but not the freedom, exclamation mark. In other words, it's too good a wine to be using in the cooking. It's a joke, but slow braised beef cheeks would be wonderful. And he would serve it with polenta and baby carrots. So I think that would be a very good match indeed. So cheers to great wine, great history and freedom.